So today we're going to be talking on um, project writing. You know that project writing is very important as a student. Even in everything that we do, project writing is very important because no matter no matter where you are tomorrow, you are still going to write one research or the other. So the purpose of today's interaction is just to educate ourselves on why research is very important. Most times we we are not always educated on the importance of research. You know, Mostly everything we do today was based on research that people. Mostly everything that we know today is based on the research of people. You know, and most of what we live in today is past research and confirmations that people have done. So when you talk about project writing or research, you find out to know that this is something very, very important. It is important because it helps you to learn, it helps you to push harder. It helps you to try to figure out new things that could be very helpful to you. Some of us may not really understand the the importance of project writing because we've never even reached that level, or we've never even come across a stage in our life where this project writing could be very, very important and versatile. So it's very important for us to understand that when you do project writing can help you determine what you want to achieve, what you want to gain. So if you just join this live stream, we're talking on project writing. So I'll just advise you all to say a comment, introduce yourselves as we move ahead. Like I was saying, project writing is very important. Please like and give a thumbs up so that we can all join together. Thank you so much for that person that liked. You all too can join. So project writing is very, very important as a student. It's very, very important because you are going to need it, not just as a student, but as a person. Most of everything we are living in today is because of researches that have been done before. Okay, someone just said, "Hi, how are you doing? How is everything?" Project writing helps us build where we are. Now, I'm talking like this because I'm writing a project now, and I to writing their own project because you know it's part of what life gives us. In wherever you are, whether you are in Nigeria or abroad, you know, most of this research is not like what some of us see as all the time. We are just looking at different other things that we may not know. Okay, funny IDK 987, you're welcome. You know, project writing is very important. Very, very, very important because in whatever life endeavors you're doing, it will help you. Yes, it will help you. Project writing can help you determine what you want to achieve. Project writing, not protection. Project writing can help you achieve what you want to do. Yes, it can help you because when they ask you now, okay, can you tell us what you know on the importance of um exclusive, let's go with exclusive breastfeeding for pregnant mothers. You know that you cannot just say what comes in your mind that can be substantial. You need to research, you need to go outside and, you know, go through people's report, yearly report, and do your own research by going all around. Yeah, keep drinking it, but just listen, you know. It helps us understand what we want to do. So to write a project is very, very important. Some of us, don't really understand what it is because we've never do it. But here today, I'm going to teach the importance of writing it. Sammy! Welcome, welcome. I miss you. So it's just all about, okay, hi. So it's just all about us, knowing um what this importance is to us because whenever or wherever you find yourself tomorrow, whether you are in a line of maybe it's not going to be about project writing, it's not going to be about researching something, but let me tell you something very, very important. Someday you're going to be wanting to know something new. Someday you're going to be wanting to know what why is this thing this way. Some of us have never really understand why things are why they are. Okay, some of us too do take drugs when you're sick. Why? Have you ever sat down to research why must I take drug when I'm sick? Okay, it's a normal routine everybody does. When you're sick, you take drugs because the normal thing, that it will cure you. But what is the mechanism? What does what does the drug do to you? What does it do to you? What does it do to you? Because drugs help you, so when you go through research, you understand that research is something good. That is, you appreciate what is in line with everything that has been done. So I advise everyone, that when you're writing a project, you don't take it casually. You don't just go around and mess it up. No, you take it serious. Number one, you make sure that you are going through someone that has an experience. You can't do it on your own. It's not possible. That's why there are people's work that are validated. You go on Google, you go on some search engines, and you search some kind of research. You see so many people that have written it. You go to companies, you go to like UNICEF, like the WHO, the CDCs. You yourself have to know that all these things are important. So now, when you talk about project writing as a student, first of all is your introduction. Your introduction talks about what this project writing is for. You are introducing this project to the audience, to everybody, and you're like, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is why I'm doing this. This is the importance of this. You explain what that thing is. They ask you now, for example, hand washing. You talk about hand washing. What hand washing has been like. How is it like today? That is your introduction. It's just like you introducing something. Just like you see, you meet your mom today, and you're with your friend. You're my mom. This is my friend in school. This is his name, and so on and so forth. That is the same way you do your project writing. Then you come to background of the study. What is this background of the study? This background of the study that I'm talking about here is past. What people have written. What's that topic has gone through from time being till now. It's not something that you just sit down and say, okay, my topic is ways on how to prevent infection. You want to write the background study, okay, of someone that I've written before. You just say, well, I don't need to research. Let me just... No, you don't do that. You go from the people's work and you begin to research and you begin to find out what was their way of preventing it then. Why did they use this method? So you now, what method can you derive that you can use? Because the background of the study is where everything begins, to be very sincere. If you don't have a background of the study to show what has been and what you think an improvement should be made, then you don't have a project. So I advise you, when you're doing a project writing, please, try to be able to research wisely. I don't know where you are now, but I don't know if everyone is experiencing the cold and the raining, God's blessings and all, and how it feels like. I don't know how many of us here that are students. I don't know how many of us that are in school or planning to enter school at some day and at some point in school, or most of the business or work we do, you'll be needing something like a project writing. So it's very good for you to share this to someone, because not everybody gets a better explanation. I'm talking out of experience. I'm not talking on something that I research and I said, let me just come and show it to somebody. It's talking out of experience and knowing that this can help somebody out there. This can provide a very valuable information to somebody out there. Somebody there can be able to learn from this and make sure that there are less mistakes from what I've seen. So I'm sharing this because I'm a student too, and it's for you to learn, and it's for everybody to be able to come together to understand that is important. So why I say this background of a study talks about how we can be able to discuss what this thing is all about. This project writing, what is it all about in the background of your study? Why self are you even writing this study? What is your business with this study? So it's for us to understand that it's very, 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 very important. So very, very important that you learn the basics of project writing. You can't do it on your own. You need a professional, your teacher, your lecturer, somebody that that's written project before, maybe a senior brother, a friend, and then we come to the objective. That in life, so many of us have objectives. So many of us we have objectives in life, what we want to achieve, so on and so on. And when we start something, we are like, this is my objective. This is what I want to achieve in 3 years time, in 5 years time. So when you come to a project writing, an objective is very, very, very important. An objective is so important that it determines the outcome of your work. If you don't have an objective, you don't have a project. The objective must be able to pick out those valuable things that needs immediate addressing, those valuable things that you need to pen down on your research, that when it's presented tomorrow, it can serve as a meaning to the society. It can serve as a meaning to people. So it's left for us to push push on what we want to achieve. It's left for us to push on what we want to achieve in our project writing, because without objective, um, sorry to say, you have no aim of writing your project. Without having a reasonable objective to help you, then you have nothing to show for it. So your objective in your study practically shows how much seriousness your study is. When you have a good objective for your project writing, you can be able to achieve something. So next of all, we go to our significance of study. The significance of study is very, very, very important, because through that you can be able to achieve something. Thank you all those people that are doing those gifts, all these emojis. Thank you. You are blessed. So as I was saying, your significance of study is why you are writing that study. For example, I'm giving a project writing, and I'm like, okay, my project writing is going to be the knowledge and practice of good hand hygiene in our society today. So now your significance of study is supposed to be like, the reason for this is because I want to ensure that at every day time of our life we must do hand washing. Some of us go to work, we go to class, we go to wherever we are, we don't wash our hands in the morning, we don't do anything, we just move out, and you touch your hand in different places, you still touch your face. You ask yourself, why don't we do hand washing? So as a researcher, you know that the significance is to ensure that hand washing is being implemented in our everyday life. It's being implemented in everything that we do, so that we can be able to achieve cleanliness and be able to achieve being able to make sure that both ourselves and our surrounding and people around us are clean. Then we move over to scope of your study. When you're writing a project or research, your scope is like how far it wants to cover. What is that thing like? What do you want to use that study, and where has it gone? What it contains, what your study feels like. So I advise each and every one of us, you go online, you just tell Google more about research. You don't have to, go deeper in research if your line of what you are doing is not in line with research. But it's always advisable to learn new things, because no knowledge at all is a waste. No knowledge, no single knowledge at all is a waste, because you don't know where it will come from. You don't know where this knowledge they are gaining now will come from. So I advise you to share this with your friends when we are done, to like, to subscribe and share, because you might be helping someone, and you might be someone's savior tomorrow. Not me. I'm sharing the knowledge. Is left for you to share with your friends and be able to help. So when we talk about research or project writing, you find out that this is something that is crucial, because as I was saying before, most of everything that we know now is based on what people have said before. It's based on what people have talked on, have researched on, have thought day and night. And you know that there are some very, very important resources that are needed in project writing. In everything you do, we all know that money is involved. Oh yes, money is involved in everything that you're doing. So when you want to carry out a research on a very large population of people, you know that it's going to be a lot of resources. And when you don't have that much resources, You know that maybe your research can be limited. Your research may not go, far as you've wanted. So before preparing for research, you must make sure that there are resources. There's time, there's energy, there's effort you've put in, so that you don't go back at the end of the day feeling like you didn't achieve anything. You know, you know. So it's not for us to always put your ideas, on what you want. So research, as we were saying, is very, very important, because if you don't have it, and if you don't know what to do, it's kind of hard to be able to gather. Very, very hard to be able to gather what people are saying. You have to be able to get yourself together. You have to be able to understand um, what you want and what you want to achieve. So I'm going to be laying a poll here. So I want you to tell me if you know anything about research, regardless of what you've heard today. I want us to know if you know anything about research or project writing. Have you achieved anything on it before at all? So I want you to select if you know anything at all on project writing. Regardless of today, maybe before you've heard anything about research or project writing, please select if you know anything. If you've known anything about research, it can help me and help us to learn better, in the sense that we can be able to learn together. So if you know anything about project or research, you can be able to click so that we can be able to know and find how we can help ourselves to grow. Oh, how many of us are feeling the cold? It's really, really cold. Comment your thoughts. Is it cold in your side? Is it raining? Is it raining where you are? Is it raining where you are now? Because it's really, really cold here. Really, 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 really cold. So in as much as we see, what a research is all about and what research can do, we can be able to identify what our objective is, what our significance, what our scope. You're able to understand why I want to do this research, why I'm comfortable doing it, why it may be important to do research on a particular topic. The research is not only for the big names that you hear, or no, it's also for you. Research is also for you as a human being. Sometimes we don't just believe everything people say. That's why you go online to check. You ask around. You don't know you're doing a research. Some of us don't even know. Some of us don't even know that we are doing a research. Some of us don't know that we are actually trying to know something and then develop our own thoughts on what you think that thing is. So it's left for you, and it's your mindset to know if you believe that thing or not. So we all want to achieve something. Obviously, we all want to be able to move from where we are now to a better place, and being able to go through to what we are and what we want to achieve. So over now, I just want to talk about chapter 1 of your research or project writing. So chapter 1 entails what that project writing is going to be like. Chapter 1 significantly talks about most of everything that is going to be about. Your project writing here now comes into play. Oh yes, it comes into play because here you are now going deeper. You are no longer floating, or you are no longer just talking, or maybe trying to fix points into points. Here now you are now diving in to what your topic is going to be like, how you are going to address people, how you are going to be able to set aside what you want to achieve, set aside what your aim is, what is going to be like for you, what you want to accomplish. So this chapter 1 covers all that I've said. If you've been listening, you heard where I talked about the background to the study, your statement of problem, the objective of the study, and then I did also talk about research question or hypothesis. Now, your research question can only be developed after giving your objective. You don't create a research question on your own. It's never possible. That is a complete error. You don't create a research question on your own. Is an error. You create your research question with your objective. For example, is what is the level of knowledge? Okay, your objective is to assess the level of knowledge, okay, of a student of, let's say, of Harvard University on the importance of social well-being. So now your question will now be, according to your objective, is what is this is how it goes now. And if you're quick, you understand what the remaining point is. What is the level of social well-being amongst the students of Harvard University? As simple as that. That is your research question. It is not. It doesn't have to be difficult. Okay, somebody voted now that doesn't have anything, didn't know much about research before now. So you see that it's all part of learning. We're all learning. Nobody knows it all. You just pick up one random day and you just see something new that you've never heard before. That's part of learning. It shows that you're here. It shows that you want to learn something new. So your research question only comes through your objective. It doesn't come from anywhere else. You don't just manufacture it and put it there. Because when you have your objective, you derive your research question. That shows you are following the guidelines. Again, when we talk about hypothesis, you have to understand that hypothesis is like you saying, it's like an assumption. Yes, an hypothesis is an assumption. Okay, given the objective and the research question and the questions that I gave, you can derive your hypothesis in two ways. You can say that students of Harvard have no relationship in social well-being. Or you can say students of Harvard have a relationship with the knowledge of social, well-being, or social interaction with one another. what what that importance is, that is where you derive your hypothesis. Then you work on both of them. You work on it and you are like, this is what I want to achieve. With your objective, research question, and hypothesis, you are very much good to go in your project. From there, you can be able to sit down and analyze your data. You can be able to say, well, with this now, I think that I do really want to use this to achieve something. I do really want to use this to start. Let me see where I can be able to head to with this information that I have now. So now, another one is operational definition of terms. When you're given a topic like, let's say, knowledge and practice of exclusive breastfeeding among mothers in an antenatal clinic, your operational definition of terms are those key terms. Obviously, you want to know the meaning of knowledge, you want to know the meaning of practice, you want to know the meaning of exclusive breastfeeding, and you also want to know the meaning of antenatal clinics. Those are your operational definition. And you also want to know maybe also the meaning of who is a mother. Yes, these are your operational definition of terms, because with this you can be able to, whoever is looking at it can say, at least he or she knows what he's doing. At least from here, you can be able to understand where you are heading to and what you want to achieve in the nearest future. So I know it is always advisable, and I will advise you that maybe when you're done hearing this today, you can go online to learn more. I'm not actually like deepening hard or depending on, I'm just trying to like make it lighter. You can go online and research more, but I'm just giving you like the basic guidelines on what a research is like. So we just head over to chapter 2. This is what we call literature review. Now let me not shock you. Let me tell you something that is really quite shocking, that most of us don't even know that we're doing at all. Most of us don't even have the idea of what we are doing. So in this chapter 2, you're talking about literature review. Literature review is whereby you are able to gather around being able to research. So literature review is whereby you go online and be able to research people's work. Just that act of researching and seeing previous work is literature review. And I almost forgot something as well, that you do add citations. You do add citations in whatever thing that you're doing. When you're adding citations in your work, it shows where you got it from. Because in the world of research, there is what they call plagiarism. This is a process whereby you use somebody's work without giving that person a good reference, and you could be charged for such thing. In countries where it's taken seriously, you could be charged so seriously that you ask yourself, I just used his or her work to do something. Plagiarism is a very wrong thing, because when you use somebody's work without giving a proper reference, it's very, very bad. Very, 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 very bad. So whenever you are writing a research or your work, you give citations. You make sure that it's something like honoring the person or thanking the person, or just saying this your work was good. and I enjoyed it and I want to use it, and it's like seeking a reference so that even if the person sees it in the future, you can see the reference, and the person will be delighted for such good of doing. So as I was talking about um, literature review, we now move to conceptual review. So this one mostly talks about the concept of your work. The concept of your work. What is your work like? The concept of your work. Uh, where your work begins from, what your work entails, and where you want to go from there. So, this is probably where we're going to stop. Because we're going to stop now on the little points on project writing, but I still love to go further to just explaining what it's like to be writing projects as a student. Because as a student, when writing projects, you are understanding that at this time of my life of writing a project, you have to make sure that it is worth a while, because all these things count as memories, count as goals, count as patterns and ladders to your successful journey. Most of us don't know, you know, how much of importance it is. You know, so as a student is sometimes understandable to know that most of the work we do today, you know, you go around, searching, you can understand what it's like to just keep moving, searching for who and who to be able to validate your work, who and who to use your work in, because at the end of every research, your work must be validated to be ensured it was done properly. You know, with the use of questionnaires and surveys, you can be able to you know make your work much better, and be able to reach a wider audience in your work. So when you as a student um put on a research, that you have to be quite zealous and serious, because nobody is going to write it for you. Nobody. So I ensure that I'm able to tell you what's right and what is wrong, because you must achieve everything that you are. So I don't know, I want us to talk. Maybe you that is here now that is active, what you want to know about research, or maybe any other thing as a student, that you love to talk about. It's an open class and an open floor for anyone in the house to be able to drop what they feel like is going to be. So please, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, what you feel like maybe should be added or should be new, you can be able to drop your thoughts, because as a student it's never easy. Yeah, most of us that have gone through school are still going through school, are still in school, or still planning. What the stress is like, even in a nursing school, or that there are a lot of stress, because whatever you're doing must be evidence based. If it's not evidence based, then maybe your work is not really proper. It's not really proper, but when you when you set aside what you ought to do, you can be able to achieve them so very much. You know, so very much. So keep up the good works, keep writing projects, keep researching, keep believing that you can be able to. Hey, sorry. So while presenting a project, you must be able to be zealous about it and be able to be serious, because you cannot present a project that cannot be performed well. Now, me as a student now, it's really crazy and it's really hard, and it's sometimes difficult. But I try my best to be able to follow those of the goons, the people that have been through this before. I know that it's not that easy, but can you say that something is not easy forever if you've not tried it? As a person, just saying, maybe you meet something there and you're not able to confront it. How then will you be able to achieve what you want? So it's very important for all of us to know that when you're writing a project, you must be able to be confident, be mature in mind, be reasonable, be ready. Yes, ready for anything, ready for insults, be ready for discouragement, and also be ready for rejoicing, be ready for celebrations, because when you do something successful, you can be able to be happy for it, be able to secure what you want and achieve better. But when you don't have something to do with it, what can you achieve? So project writing is very, very important for someone who calls himself a student, or someone who wants to achieve something. You want to explain why this thing is a phenomenon. You know that you have to research. You know that you have to check areas where things are wrong and where things are right. But whereby you have such endeavor and you're not being able to use them, you know, you don't know what you want to achieve, because if you know what you want to achieve, you'll be able to make sure that you set things right and you make sure that everything is good. So I always encourage every one of us to be able to get what we want to do right, to be able to set things at the right path and be able to achieve what we want and dream better. We are not in that line or in that hope to believe that nothing good can come out of what we are doing. As a student, it's very difficult at times to be able to go from where we are now to where we want to be, because life sometimes may not really be fair. Sometimes may not really be that good, but when you set your mind with everything that you've known now about project writing, you can be able to achieve better. Just know what the basics are. Just know what is needed. You don't have to force yourself or stress yourself in order to know what is needed and not needed. So when you get yourself together, you can be able to know that when you want to apply for research, you know that there are resources that are needed. There are things that you know that must be ready for you to be able to get it right, for you to be able to make sure that what you are doing is right and acceptable, not just for you but for society, but for people who can be able to commend your actions and your reasons for such things. So you know that at the end of every research there's always a result and a defense, because when you perform a research you must defend it. And if your work is not standard enough, it's not what you put your time, not what you put your energy into, if it's not what you put your seriousness into, you cannot be able to achieve it. So instead of um, saying things wrong, it's better that you put your time, your energy, and everything inside your writing. You put your resilience. You know, it's always good to try out something new. It's always good. When you go through something, review it, you want to know more. It's not just all about you seeing something new and you're not even putting an effort to know why that thing is that. You may not know, it may be the change that needs to be done on something. So it's always advisable to make sure that when you want to try something, try it with belief, try it with hope, try it with understanding. Project writing is not just a writing for writing's sake. Project writing is something that you put your mind and your heart into. You put your mind into, you get yourself ready for the outcome, for anything, anything that's going to happen. So I don't know. I think we're coming to an end. I really want to thank those who have stayed here. You know, whether it's your business or whether it's not your business, but just being here shows that you want to learn and you want to achieve something, and you want to be able to become something tomorrow. So it's just good to be focused, to be able to learn something new and be able to achieve something great above everything. We can't do anything on our own. No, we need help. We need what life entails. We must be able to search. So we must be able to achieve something. you know. So for the next 10 minutes, because we're going to be off soon, just to deliberate more on this project writing, because where you see it today, you may not see it tomorrow. So the floor is still open for anyone that has whatever I have to say in mind to just come and say, because where we at now, where we going to be tomorrow, one way or another, we are still going to need project writing. So it's there for us to pull ourselves together and be able to make sure that Everything is alright. Let me just say like benefits benefits of research writing. Why research writing? Wait, oh.